What's trending and what's on the entertainment scene. We have Asha Fox and Brian Aseli to just tell us about, of course, what's going on in the country. I want us to just start off with Asha Fox. Asha, good morning. Good to see you. Let's start off, of course, with, we do know that Nigeria elections were held, of course, and there was a president-elect announced. Give us the latest in terms of the tweets that have been sparking online.
Kenyans fighting Nigerians, or is it Nigerians fighting Kenyans? I can't tell.
No, they're just trying to fight us, but we have more bundles.
Kenya versus Nigeria is trending, and as Celia said, we have more bundles. That's one of the reasons. Or rather, that's where the banter went. Of course, it started off from the election. As I said, President-elect Bola Tinubu, yes, was elected recently in the election that they had. And then, of course, there have been memes going on online about how old the president is. Photos of him sleeping, in other sessions have also been doing rounds on social media. And then Nigerians, of course, didn't take that very kindly, and they started fighting Kenyans about that. The thing about bundles and, electricity, that's one reason why these guys are fighting. Kenyans have, hit at them, telling them, you guys have to go charge your phones in Ghana, and the photos of trains, fully loaded with guys, allegedly. That's what Nigerians are going to do. So there are memes of that on social media.
And it's actually very true. Like, Ghana was even put in the mix, and it became a whole debate about the same. But people in Kenya are not, they're just going ham on Nigeria because of the president-elect. But it's super crazy how, one of the jokes that captured my attention was, that guy is retired even before he starts his job. I had that this morning.
But there were many avenues. So there was the president, there was electricity. They also fought them on, the celebrities. Guys were talking about the actors that they have. Of course, Nollywood is big, and Hapo, even us as Kenyans, we said, okay, kudos, we surrender. You have Nollywood. However, we have Lupita Nyong'o, who we've sent all the way to Hollywood. So, there was a lot of platforms of banter on that. And then music as well, Afrobeats. These guys have done a very... as Aseli will add on to this. Yes. But Nigerian music, West African music, they're known for that. But however, Twitter banter, KTN first body, Nyashinsky said it, and I think we've won this one. Yeah,
we've won this one, but of course, Asha has just talked about some of the pointers. Afrobeat is so big, it's won Grammys a couple of times. This year we had Thames, who won a Grammy, the first female Nigerian to win a Grammy. And of course, we have so many Nigerians who are in the country right now. We have Era Star already in the country. We have Bayani, who's in the country. From Uganda, they have also sent us Jose Chameleon, and it's a fully condition because they are also sending us Eddie Kenzo. Those are some of the artists that are going to be performing this weekend. Also from Tanzania, we're going to be having Rayvanny and Gims, who have done a perfect collab. So it's super exciting to actually know that that's the lineup of some of the people who are performing during the weekend.
Aseli should know they're calling Era Star Anyango now.
Of course, trust Kenyans on that.
Yes.
Let's just move on, of course, and talk about the biggest debate that has been going on in the country, LGBTQI debate. We've seen also leaders weighing in on this particular issue. So, of course, Twitter, people have been talking a lot about this. Asha, let's start with you. What are people saying exactly?
The one thing that has stood out right now, of course, this is a debate that has been going on since the Supreme Court made that ruling about, allowing freedom of association for the LGBTQ plus community. But guys, what happened yesterday is finally President William Ruto, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, Raila Odinga, and Kalonzo Musyoka finally agree on something. So that was the main thing yesterday. They all said that they're against this association, the ruling. They're saying yes, we respect what the Supreme Court has said, but we're still against it. And then some of the issues that have come up on social media, guys are discussing the Africanness of this. Some of them are saying that it's not African. Other things that have been mentioned. Do you remember in past years when Uhuru was president and he was asked about this, he said that, this is a non-issue at this point. And of course, Ruto has also gone on to say that, we still won't allow same-sex marriages in Kenya. This is an issue not just in Kenya. It's something that has been happening globally. And I think it's not a trend that is only happening in Kenya. The communication has drawn in people internationally as well. Uganda has a very hard line on anti-LGBTQ policies, exactly. So there's a lot that's going on around this, and it's still very sensitive issues. The guys were still trying to be very careful about what the comments they give on it and the ones that they don't give on it. And I think Brenda Selly remembers that time even Kevin Hart, I think, got into trouble.
Yes, Kevin Hart got into trouble with the Oscars. He was meant to actually host the event, and which is film's most coveted night. And from a comment that he made years back on Twitter when he was younger, as he would refer to himself as stupid in quotes, and he posted something about the LGBTQ, and then later on he was forced to apologize. He said that he's not going to apologize, and actually it cost him the Oscar job, which would have been a good accreditation on his CV. But I don't think anafikiria maneno ya CV. Speaking of LGBTQ, pia imekuwa ni noma how Kenyans are linking the 16 billion funding from the US to the effect, because Jill Biden was in the country, then we were given 16 billion, then kidogo Supreme Court one day before Jill Biden landed. So Kenyans are piecing up things, and I don't know how true that is, but then Kenyans are Kenyans. Sisi tukitaka kuunda new painting, that's exactly what we do.
That's true, and part of the communication is also that, you know, maybe this is being pushed on us as Kenya, as Aseli is saying. So there's a lot around this, but guys are being very careful on social media, or most guys, I'd say. There are those who are very upfront about it, you're against it, you're against it. There are those who are in support, and they're also out front about it, but there are those who are you know, just being very careful, because you don't want another Kevin Hart situation. These are things that could cost you your job, could cost you a lot in future. So the guys who are looking at that longevity, and they don't want to get into murky waters with this.
Yeah, umesema vizuri, longevity. I've always had a hard time saying that word.
Longevity.
Yeah, but it's super exciting. If we move on to the next stories, in music right now, as we've said earlier on, there's so many people expected in the country, but that's not the biggest news in music. One of the biggest news is that Mwana FA from Tanzania has now been made Assistant Minister for Culture, and that's super exciting for people out there. And it's such a great thing, because we had people like Professor J who became MPs in Kenya. Tumeona Gachagua amementioniwa kwa list flani ya kukua CAS prospective, but then it's super exciting for how musicians are just transitioning from one space to the other. And then another thing is Sakaja, our governor. Please, according to Aroboy, people have not been paid from Nairobi Festival performances. And yeah, I can tell you, Fatia, that it's quite devastating, where governor amekuwa the front line kusema, hey, you know what, mimi wasanii walipwe, you know, I'm going to stand for the artists and stuff like that. Then months later, imekuwa ni shida that we've not been able to see people getting paid. Moving on to the next one. Imagine, Fox, I've always wondered, how much money do you use on your hair? How much?
Enough.
Plenty.
Good enough.
Fati, how much do you spend on your hair?
Good enough. Hair that you don't see, but yes.
Those are things, apart from a woman's age, those are other things you don't disclose, especially to men.
Yeah, but there's this guy, our very own favorite, Riggy G, decided kuongelele story. And of course he said that we should look for women who are not disturbing us, and we should look for women who only ask for 3,000 for their hair, because according to him, he's lucky enough to have gotten a pastor, that is Pastor Dorcas, mwenye anaitisha 3K peke yake. In his own words, he says, as a man, you must look for a woman who doesn't disturb you. I'm lucky I got a pastor who doesn't need a lot. I normally give her 3,000 shillings for hair, and she's satisfied.
That is all I will say.
Trust Ricky G on that. But let's just, before we wrap up, Asha, I just want us to talk about what's happening in sports. Of course, this weekend, we know that EPL, there's some matches. So talk to us about that before we just wrap up.
Yes, so EPL, we have 9 matches this weekend. I'll only mention the top matches. Of course, the teams that we're looking at, Man City and Newcastle have a match on Saturday, and Arsenal and Bournemouth also have a match on Saturday at 6 p.m. And then we also have Liverpool and Man United also having a match. Of course, the teams guys will be looking at are Arsenal, Man City, and Man United, because 1 to 3 on the EPL table. And then we also have Formula 1. 2023 season is starting this weekend. We have the race starting in Bahrain on Sunday. Of course, there'll be the practice rounds and all that happening earlier before that. And there's a lot to be looked at. Last year we had seen Ferrari and Red Bull and Mercedes give a very spirited competition. We're hoping to see if that goes on this year. Of course, Mercedes have also come out to say plainly they're not very, the car has some challenges and they may struggle at the beginning of the season, but we're hoping that they'll pick up. So again, we're beginning another season of Mercedes versus Red Bull and all other vehicles in the, Formula One. So there's a lot to look forward to over the weekend.
All right, thank you so much for that. Of course, very interesting what's happening in sports this weekend. That is, of course, Asha Fox telling us what's trending and Brian Aseli giving us what's happening on the entertainment scene. That's it for News Diary. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back at 10 a.m. with more news on News Center.